Welcome back to the Metro on 1019 WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio. I'm Tia Graham. The women's WNBA's popularity skyrocketed once Caitlin Clark entered the league. Her performances have attracted new fans to women's basketball and reignited the conversation about women's sports in America. Men's sport dominate broadcasting and often take primetime spots, but that trend is shifting. When will women's sports get to the same respect and attention that the men's sports have gotten? Soccer is one sport where women have made major strides and can offer insight into this question. The U.S. women's national soccer team is widely considered the most successful international women's team. The squad has won 4 World Cup titles and 5 Olympic gold medals. That kind of success increased the popularity of women's soccer domestically, and more importantly, it helped close the pay gap between the men and women's national teams. But are these efforts made by the women's national team a step towards achieving equal opportunity and pay for women at all levels? Joining us to discuss this is Christine Brennan. Christine is a sports columnist for USA Today with over 4 decades of experience. She's covered the Olympics and the World Cup multiple times, and her new book is titled On Her Game. Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports will be available July 8th. Christine, welcome to the Metro.
Tia, it's great to be with you. I grew up in the suburbs of Toledo, looking north always to Detroit, the Tigers, Michigan, Traverse City, summer vacations. So it's a delight to be on with you and your listeners.
I mean, honestly, Christine, I will say before we get started, you have a voice for radio.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Maybe it's just because I talk a lot. I don't know. I'll take the compliment, Tia. You sound terrific as well. So great to be on with you.
So great to be on with you as well. So we're going to get into the legacy of women's national soccer team. But first, I do want to play a clip of an ad from back in the late 90s.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Had enough?
Let's go. Anything you can be, I can be greater.
Ready, stop.
Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
No, you're not. I'm not stopping.
Yes,
I'm not stopping.
I'm not stopping.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
And so listening back to that, number one, nostalgia has just kind of overcome me right now because I just love that ad so much. But that was a Gatorade ad from 1997 featuring NBA legend Michael Jordan and U.S. soccer legend Mia Hamm. And in it, the two are competing against one another in a variety of sports like fencing and tennis and martial arts, you name it. And the ad placed Hamm and Jordan as peers who are equally great athletes. Now, Christine, is that how people typically viewed men and women's athletes, especially at like 90s in 97?
Well, exactly. I remember that ad very, very well. It was actually the lead up to that in the late 90s, as you said, Tia, and the 1999 Women's Soccer World Cup, which of course ended in the Rose Bowl, July 10th of 1999. Not that I remember, but I was there. I think all of your listeners will remember, if they were even remotely alive or kids then, that was when Brandi Chastain had the winning penalty kick and took off her shirt and whipped it over her head. And not to be forgotten, Brianna Scurry, who is a friend to this day here in the Washington, D.C. area where I am now. Brianna Scurry, of course, made the incredible save to be able to make that, have Brandi Chastain have the winning kick. So huge moment in women's sports. I will tell you this, that commercial was omnipresent at a time when there were basically 3 or 4 channels in the country and no streaming. And a great anecdote that comes off of that's actually in my previous book, Best Seat in the House, my father-daughter memoir about Michigan and Detroit and Toledo, et cetera, is that Doug Flutie, then the great college quarterback and pro quarterback, and a big name in the country, was at the Women's Sports Foundation dinner that year, and he said that as he watched that commercial with his then, I think, 12-year-old daughter, they saw the commercial, and his daughter, who played sports, said to her dad, the great Doug Flutie, "Hey, Dad, who's the guy with Mia?" And of course, it was Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
But showing and proving that if you give our girls and boys an opportunity to see it, as Billie Jean King says, the great
Yes.
Billie Jean King, see it, you can be it. Or to be it, you need to see it. And there is an example of a young girl growing up who knew Mia Hamm and didn't know Michael Jordan. And there are millions and millions of girls since that point, that's late 90s. So we have another generation entirely of being raised in sports as never before. And everyone knows it. If it's not the girl you see in the kitchen every morning getting her soccer cleats on or her volleyball uniform on or lacrosse or whatever, it's the girl you watch across the street in the driveway that you wave to as she's got her bag over her shoulder heading to a softball practice or whatever. That is America now because of Title IX, which was signed 53 years ago today by Richard Nixon, became the law to have equal opportunity for girls as well as boys in sports.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that to the table today, to the Metro today, that fact, because you are 100% correct. Title IX was signed in 1972 today. So that's an amazing thing to think about. And just piggybacking off of what you're talking about right now, I just think about, I was one of those kids in 97, I think I maybe was 5 or 6 years old watching that commercial and thinking to myself, oh, wow, we can play sports just as well as the men can. And I remember Michelle Kwan and Mia Hamm and so many of these greats, Lisa Leslie, these are all women that I got to watch growing up. So to hear you say that now, it just all clicks in my brain right now. But if we can, Christine, talk about the stereotypes that women athletes did face at that time that we saw that legendary Mia Hamm, Michael Jordan ad.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, certainly there was a sense, basically a mindset in our country, Tia, that girls were weaker and shouldn't play sports, wouldn't be good at sports. The line "throw like a girl" was just seen as a denigrating put down. You throw like a girl, and of course, what that meant, and back in the day, there was such a thing where girls were not being taught how to play sports. We're talking about girls growing up. My goodness, anyone's mom, grandmother, maybe now, great grandmother. Throughout the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I mean, for generations, we were telling half of our population, no, you cannot learn about physical fitness. You cannot learn how to play a sport. You cannot learn about teamwork, winning, and even more important, you cannot learn about losing at a young age. What on earth were we thinking as a nation to deprive 50%, 51% of our population those opportunities? The country is better. I'll wave the flag. Our nation is so much better when the other half of our population learns those incredible life lessons about leadership and teamwork and everything that is sports. And it's, of course, life. It's so much more than sports. But that was going on. And the throw like a girl thing, the ball, I think most people know, it's like pushing the ball. Well, girls weren't being taught. I was taught by my dad. I had my own personal Title IX, my father, Jim Brennan, and he took me out and I learned how to cock my arm behind my ear and throw through. And of course now, to talk about the positives, Tia, throw like a girl now, it's a compliment. Yep. Because we're teaching millions and millions, all of our daughters and nieces and granddaughters, how to throw the ball properly. And hopefully that term is going away. But that was the mindset from the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, the Women's Olympics that I covered, all the way to the 99 Women's World Cup, which I also covered. That was that time period where things were changing so dramatically.
Wow. And if you can, just talk a little bit about that time period, you covering that time period and watching women's sports and women competing within sports kind of grow and the conversation expand, not being a narrow-minded one, but how that also changed in terms of the media coverage of women in sports during that time.
Well, absolutely. And it had to change because it was so clear. First of all, good news is the Olympics, there's always great media coverage of that. And I've been fortunate to cover every Olympics since 1984 in LA, winter and summer. So it's a lot. And I'm so lucky living my dreams every day. And so, you watch the Olympics and by and large, the heroes are women because our top male athletes go to football, other sports. Now the NBA of course, men's and women's basketball is in the Olympics, but it's not something that boys strive for the way girls strive for, because women's sports, obviously swimming, track and field, we've had just some of the greatest names in Olympic history, Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Gail Devers, and of course Simone Biles moving up to now, and Katie Ledecky and Tori Husk, these and many, many, many more. But in 1996, softball started at the Olympics and soccer. So there had been no women's soccer at the Olympics before the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Hard to believe. Barcelona, Seoul, LA, no women's men, yes, no women. I mean, again, what were we thinking? The inequities, just ridiculous. Softball started in Atlanta in 96. U.S. women just clean up, win everything. And that really was a springboard, along with Title IX in 72, Billie Jean King beating Bobby Riggs in September of 73, these stepping stones to this moment we have today. And then, yes, 96, 99, the Women's World Cup did not go with 20,000 seat stadiums. They did not go with smaller stadiums. They dreamed big, they rolled the dice, and they said, we're gonna go to the Rose Bowl, we're gonna be in Soldier Field, we're gonna be in NFL or college stadiums around the country. And they did that because the Olympics gold medal game at the University of Georgia football stadium sold out. And there were like 80,000 people there. And they knew from that the interest was there. No one believed them. Everyone thought it was a joke. So many newspapers didn't even staff it. It was organic. It wasn't top down. It was bottom up. It was moms and dads taking their daughters, a minivan revolution, going to all the games. The first game in New York, at the Giants and Jets Stadium in 99 World Cup, had a larger crowd, bigger, it was packed, absolutely capacity, larger crowd than the New York Jets playoff game had about 7, 8 months earlier. Wow. And the only larger crowd in that stadium was for the Pope. Wow. And all of a sudden, newspaper editors, so chauvinistic, perhaps misogynistic, whatever, just maybe out of it, clueless, all of a sudden they go, oh my gosh. And with that, they're starting to send reporters everywhere because this story became so big. And I'll give you a little, and you and your listeners, Tia, a little for your next trivia contest or cocktail party. What's the only story in the history of stories to make the cover of Time, Newsweek, People, and Sports Illustrated the same week? I probably already gave it away. Time, Newsweek, those are easy, right? People, okay, and then Sports Illustrated have something so massive, it is cultural as well as sports, and that, of course, was Brandy Chastain in the 1999 women's soccer. To this day, that's the only story. That's how big a deal it was.
You literally just took us right to class with that one, because honestly I learned so much just now from you just then. But you're listening to the Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Tia Graham. My guest is Christine Brennan. She is an award-winning sports columnist for USA Today, and we are discussing the strides the U.S. women's national soccer team made towards equal pay in soccer, and as well the growth of women's sports in general in our popular culture. Now, I do want to talk about popular culture for a little bit here, because you're talking about just, women's sports kind of exploding, especially in terms of media coverage and people just talking more about it in a mainstream way. I remember when softball was introduced, and Jenny Finch was one of my favorite players to watch growing up. I wanted to be a pitcher because Jenny Finch was a pitcher and she was amazing. And then the same thing, I think of Misty May. I can't really remember her other name as well, but watching the Olympics, I made sure to watch for the women in the Olympics, no matter what they were doing at the time. So I do want to talk about how that entered into our popular culture, because it was a huge deal to watch women's sports in certain events. Could you talk a little bit about that as you started to write about it, especially as we go forward from 2000s all the way to where we are now?
Well, exactly. I mean, it became, again, with the Olympics, by far, I think it's been the last 4 Olympics, U.S. women have won more gold medals and more medals overall than men, our U.S. men. And in fact, at this last Olympics in Paris, if the U.S. women were their own country, which, obviously is an interesting thought, but if they had been their own country, they would have been 3rd in the medal rankings to the entire U.S. team, including them, China, and then it would be the U.S. women in terms of winning medals. I mean, if you love the Olympics, and, there's probably 3 guys out there, Tia, hiding under a desk somewhere in I don't want to say Western Michigan, let's make it like Idaho or Wyoming. 3 guys who say they don't like Title IX. Well, come on out, guys. Come on out. It's over. It's over. If you've watched any of the Olympics ever, you love Title IX. Because without Title IX, which again, of course, allowed women to keep playing sports and supporting them and encouraging it, and then encouraging it after college as well, high school and college, to have long careers in sports like Katie Ledecky, who would have long since retired. If there's no Title IX, Katie Ledecky's one and done. If there's no Title IX, you've never heard of Megan Rapinoe or Tiffany Rodman. Never. Ever hear of them. And so, again, I think that's one of the beauties of this moment where obviously even the guys are like, hey, I'll put on a 22 jersey. I'll go and wear a woman's jersey. We never would have seen that even a few years ago, except some soccer players. But the way, and of course, we can get into Caitlin Clark, but the way that we have been embracing women's sports, and we got to mention Serena Williams and Venus Williams, the greatest of all time. The fact that 2 sisters were so spectacular, and I covered all of them, all their stuff, Wimbledon, US Open, interviewed both Venus and Serena. They're terrific role models, great people. But the way that Serena in particular was embraced, here's a Black woman, and I'm 6 feet tall, and she's 5'11" and a half, whatever, and she makes me look small. You know what I mean? She is a big, and Venus is tall, right? Yeah. And the way this nation embraced, I don't think I have to tell you or anyone listening, Black female athletes in that way, as we watched the end of Serena's career and the end of Venus's career, extraordinary. I'm not sugarcoating. We've got a lot of problems in this country, but look at the way, the difference from, say, 50 years ago, where they would not have been embraced. They dealt with a lot, but there was also a lot of love for both.
So, Christine, let's head back to soccer if we can for a moment. In the 2010s, the women national team won their 3rd straight Olympic gold medal and back-to-back FIFA World Cups. At that point, people had to take notice of their dominance. So let's just talk a little bit about the dominance there that the women's team were able to sport out. And you did mention Megan Rapinoe. She was so instrumental in the U.S. women's soccer fight for equal pay.
Oh my gosh, she was. And in fact, she would say, she'd go to practice and then she'd get in a car to go and work on the legal suit or do a deposition or something like that. What a way to prepare for Olympics or World Cup, by having to do double duty, right, as an athlete, and then off the field to be fighting for equal pay. This was remarkable, and it was successful. The U.S. women's soccer team has equal pay. 2022 was the settlement. But this was a fight that really goes back to 99 and then 2000, where once they saw the popularity and the 40 million watching that game in 1999, 40 million people in the United States. But then you see the numbers and the men making so much more than the women, although the men aren't as good. And the women, of course, are winning everything, right? Or winning a lot. And so that just bubbled to the surface, kept going to the point where it just was inevitable, with this incredible hard work by these great female athletes, that they would push through. And, part of the problem is that the World Cup, so the Men's World Cup, FIFA is the organization that runs them, and the Men's World Cup in 2022-23, the men total $440 million, and the women's pay was $150 million. So you've got so much less, although it is more than it used to be. They're upping it. Then again, let's be fair and honest, the men have been around a lot longer. So the women have, the men got a big head start, right, in terms of equal pay. And we know it's just not going to happen overnight. But that's what's so remarkable about the U.S. women's team. They did get equal pay. And it didn't happen overnight. But even with that big disparity in the prize pool, so the U.S. men just get so much more money even by being in and winning a game or two in the World Cup than the women did by winning the World Cup. And those U.S. men, they actually agreed to take a pay cut. When do people agree to take a pay cut? We got to give the men credit. Title IX males, that's what we've created. We've created millions of Title IX males. They wanted the women to have equal pay, so they were willing to share some of the incredible difference between the men's prize money in the World Cup and the women's, so that the U.S. women would have equal pay and make a great statement around the world.
And under the new collective bargaining agreement signed last year, the minimum salary for National Women's Soccer League players is around $48,000. On the men's side, reserve players are paid a minimum of $80,000. You could look at this and say that there is still a clear pay disparity going on. So what does this say to you in terms of the leagues and in the way that it's all broken down?
Yeah, I think that it is confusing. I mean, it's not confusing. What you said is correct. There are bonuses. The contracts are different. I'm not making excuses. Obviously, I fought for this and written columns my whole career on these issues of equality for women and girls. So, but it is a fact that what is believed to be the case and what happened from that lawsuit is equal pay. But they are different. It's apples and oranges. So, bottom line is there's no women's team on earth that is closer or that is at parity with the men the way the U.S. women's soccer team. So, as I said, there's a lot, and we don't have time, nor I'm sure the inclination to go into all the details. But certainly in terms of bonuses, that's where you see some of the difference. But clearly the U.S. women are on an equal playing field now with the men. But that takes a lot because the international game is so misogynistic. And we saw that with Spain and that awful forced kiss. I mean, it is horrible what's gone on in international soccer vis-a-vis women. The United States, because of Title IX, we have cared much more. Plus, the U.S. women are so good and deserving all of the praise, the coverage, and the money. But the international game is so far behind. It is still just loaded with misogynists and sexist leaders who still to this day would be fighting equal pay around the rest of the world.
Christine Brennan is an award-winning sports columnist for USA Today. Her new book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, goes on sale July 8th. Christine, thank you so much for joining us, and wherever you are, I hope that you are staying cool.
I am, Tia. Thank you. You as well. Thanks to everyone in Detroit, and I really appreciate you. Take care.
Take care. From the WDET newsroom, as you just heard, an extreme heat warning, it remains in effect for Genesee, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties. That's until 8 p.m. Tuesday. The heat index values will exceed 100 degrees, so find air-conditioned spaces to cool down, drink plenty of fluids, and take action if you or someone you know or around you right now shows signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Be prepared. Go to WDET.org/cool for a comprehensive list of cooling centers throughout Metro Detroit. Coming up next, we'll continue discussing the significance of women's soccer and hear from a Detroit Future City player on the women's team. This is the Metro. You all stay right here. Now imagine, under the smoky haze at Keyworth Stadium, LGBTQ plus and Palestinian flags fly high. Fans chant, sing, and yell. And those are just a few of the voices that can be heard at Detroit City FC women's game. The chants echo a history that often includes struggle. They're a nod to the hard-fought battles for equal pay made by the U.S. women's national soccer team. It sometimes makes every goal scored, every tackle made feel like a statement. So today we're asking, what does true representation mean for women athletes? How has the visibility of the U.S. women's team shaped their experiences, and what unique challenges do women athletes still face today? Our guest is a DCFC player on the women's team, Ella Kerouac. She is a defender. Ella, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Hi, Tia. Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, this is amazing to have a soccer player right now. So let's just talk a little bit about you. Talk about growing up and watching soccer and just understanding the sport. When did you fall in love with it?
Oh, great question. I probably fell in love with soccer at an early age, probably around age 5. But I played a lot of sports.
Yeah.
But soccer was always the one that I knew I wanted to do. And from an early age, I knew that I wanted to play college soccer. I thought that was the ceiling of success for a women's side. And that's what I always strive to do. Yeah. And I was able to play at an awesome club and kind of grow up around a lot of awesome female coaches and female players. So then to be able to represent DCFC, I mean, that was like an opportunity of a lifetime. And I didn't know that that was an opportunity as a young player. So to finally get to that point was really cool.
I know it's like a beautiful number one time to be a soccer player, especially as a woman, but to have and see the expansion of the league throughout the country has been, for myself as well, amazing to experience, because for so long, so many women's sports have had a ceiling of the collegiate level or maybe even the Olympic level, but usually that was pretty much it for your professional career. So talk about what that journey has been like, just going from space to space and just, kind of, I'm not going to say stumbling, because you were ready for this challenge. You know what I mean? But to have this open up to you, what has it meant?
It's meant so much. I mean, as a youth player, I think I went through my experiences, as I said earlier, with that goal of playing college soccer. And that was always what I strived to do. And once I got to be a college soccer player and have those experiences, I learned about DCFC and, this pre-professional league. And I knew that was something that I wanted to do and be a part of. And as a local player, I was like, oh my gosh, I already knew about the men's side. Didn't know that there was going to be a women's program coming up. So once I had the opportunity to do so, I took that.
And where are you from?
I'm from Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Yeah.
So about 20 minutes from Hamtramck, Keyworth Stadium.
So you're at home. Mm-hmm. So talk about playing at home in front of your friends and family and just people that you grew up with. What is that like?
Oh, it's so fun. I mean, it's only 20 minutes away, so a lot of my family and friends come to basically every game. So it's so fun. And I do have an advantage when it comes to driving. But, I mean, also this community and this team is filled with a lot of diverse players. And a fan base too, so everyone's coming from everywhere. So, I mean, I'm just like every other player. It doesn't really matter that I'm a local player or not.
Yeah, and when we were just having a conversation just a moment ago, but the influence of the U.S. women's soccer team now, a lot of us grew up watching it and really got to experience and enjoy watching the women's team just expand and just dominate over the years. But the women's soccer team has been in the news, always been in the news consistently. Over the last 30 years, the team has won 9 world championships, including 5 Olympic gold medals and 4 FIFA World Cups. In 2022, the team won a settlement from the Soccer Federation for $24 million and a promise that would make sure that they get paid the same as the men's team did. So how has that influenced your career and your experiences in soccer?
So much. I mean, if you look back for the World Cup championship team, the 1999ers, that is really what took off women's soccer when they won that championship. And that was amazing. And I feel like after that is when they, started getting some, equal resources, support, but they weren't getting equal pay. And that was in the news lines forever. And, like players like Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, they fought for that. And that was super inspiring to look up to, because Alex Morgan was my favorite player. I had her jersey, I had her book. So to see what she was doing off the field was really incredible. And now just to see where the NWSL, which is the National Women's League for professional soccer, it's taking off. And it's because of those players and what they did with the U.S. national team. I mean, I thought the ceiling was college soccer because I didn't think the U.S. women's national team was realistic. So now to see that NWSL and now the USL Super League is a possibility is so cool. And it's because of those trailblazers.
And which is once again an amazing thing to be a part of right now, to be in this time of history, in this moment of history, thinking about the expansion of women's sports, especially when we're talking about women's soccer. And it truly does feel like a long time coming, because like you said, over the years we've watched the media and just heard people in general in passing having conversations. The women's team wins more, so why don't they get paid more? That was just something I would always hear. Do you feel like DCFC's women's team gets more attention because of the visibility of the U.S. women's team, or do you feel like it's a pretty equal thing?
I mean, I just think it's continuing to grow. I think we are continuing to get better visibility as years come on. I mean, we are somewhat of a newer program when it comes to the women's side. The men's, has been with DCFC longer. But the fans still love the women's side, and they show up to every game and they support us. So we really appreciate that. And I think with these next coming summers, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And hopefully one day we can turn this women's pre-professional league to professional.
Robin Vincent has actually been to a few of the games, and she said it's something that you have to experience if you've never been there before. If you've never been to the stadium, you have to go because it's so alive and it's such a communal feeling as well. Same thing with Pat Batchelor. He's a regular. He's been going for years now. And same thing. He just says you have to be there to understand the community that's at Keyworth Stadium, which once again, I have to get there and get out and watch a game.
Yeah, you got to come, Tia. It's pretty incredible. You know, the community behind it is awesome. It's so diverse. And I think what's really special about it is just our culture and our values that we hold, being inclusive, loving each other, making a space for everyone to feel comfortable to celebrate soccer. But it's bigger than soccer, you know. This is a community where we bring so many people together just to celebrate each other and the sport and the growing sport of women's soccer. I
was going to say, because we do live in a space, a very multicultural space anyway. So just to see that this sport, which already has international appeal, huge international appeal, just bringing all the folks who are already here together just to have that love for one thing. But right now we're talking about women's soccer and the DCFC women's soccer team here in Detroit. Our guest is Ella Carroll Act. She is a defender for that team as well as a local player. But I do want to transition a little bit, Ella, briefly and talk about politics for a moment, because some of the national team members, including Megan, have been critical of President Trump. DCFC also has been supportive of the queer community. What do you see as the role of sports, especially as an athlete, especially as a female athlete, within our politics?
Yeah. I mean, sports is an incredible platform to use your voice, and a lot of it doesn't even have to be vocal. It can be pregame shirts, it can be posters, it can be fan bases. And I think it's really important for female athletes and all athletes, honestly, in every sport to use their voice, because we do have a unique platform and we do hold a sense of responsibility to use our voice because people are looking at us. And sports is such a huge part of our culture in America. So we have to use it to stand what we fight for and what we value. And particularly with this administration, this is a critical time in history where sports can be used in a really cool and unique way.
And do you ever, like, just hearing, you know, the power in your voice right now, but do you ever feel nervous or afraid to speak out?
Of course. I mean, there's always going to be backlash. And as a female athlete, sometimes we're not respected and we're not heard as much as maybe a men's side. But that's what fighting is all about and what progression is all about. So yes, sometimes I feel scared too, but at the end of the day, I feel really supported with the females around me and the support staff and the coaching staff, and we all value the same things and we all fight for the same things. So I know that they have my back.
Love that, girl power. So success and momentum, just thinking about the success of last year and just this, you know, just thinking about the success you all have been able to build throughout the year or so. How did the success of last year translate into the team's energy this year? Like, how did you bring that momentum back?
Right. I mean, I wasn't here last year, but I could feel it when I came in. I mean, we had a little bit of a chip on our shoulders. Like, we got to the national semifinal, and we're going to do it again this year. And I think that's really cool to be a part of, just knowing that the standards are so high. But, like, results aside, just the trust that we have in each other, I think that's what really has carried us into this season and made us so successful.
I was going to say, just, you know, watching clips and just understanding who the team is, the core of the team, and understanding. I mean, Detroit hustles harder. That's the type of thing I'm thinking about. And when I watch some of the clips, I haven't seen it in person, but when I watch some of the clips, I just think to myself, this is a gritty team.
Oh, yeah.
This is a gritty team.
We are fighting for something. Yeah. I mean, we got players from everywhere, different college programs, high school girls, but we come together and we put on a fight. And mostly when you're walking into Keyworth Stadium and you got the fans behind you, it's your responsibility to do so. And, you know, we want to win, we want to score goals, and we want to represent the city.
You know, just as we're sitting here for a moment, we only have a few moments left, but what's your walkout song? What's the song that gets you pumped up?
Any Rihanna song. I mean, yes. Like, I'm someone that likes to be chill before games, you know, stay level-headed so that when the game comes, I'm focused and ready to go. But on my drive to Keyworth Stadium, it is Rihanna through and through.
Oh my gosh. I can't even explain to you how much I love that, but thank you for that, Ella. But, as we continue to go forward and we think about the future, what challenges still exist, if any, for being a female soccer player right now?
Right. I mean, I'm a post-grad now. I just finished my 4 years of college soccer, and my goal is to play professional soccer. Didn't know that was really a possibility until I got to college. And now that it is, I think I'm facing challenges of, who do I look up to right now? Who's been in my position where, maybe we weren't the best college soccer player, but we are good enough to play professional soccer. So I'm just trying to look at role models and figure out what is the best pathway to do that. Is that playing in the U.S.? Is that playing internationally? And I've learned so much that you can go and play internationally and you can go experience a different culture and do that. But there's challenges with that. There's not great pay. Sometimes the resources aren't great. And you have to feel well supported to take on that journey and pursue that career. So, I think just bringing awareness to the fact that you can play professional soccer all over the world, that's my biggest challenge right now, is just finding people and looking up to those people.
Yeah, and I would just say that you are also a trailblazer yourself, because you're starting up something that's so new for this country as well, watching the expansion of women's soccer as a professional league here. So you're also a trailblazer doing something that's new. So
thanks, Tia.
You're very, very welcome. Ella Carroll Act is a defender for DCFC. Ella, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro. Good luck on an amazing season, and you will see me in the stands.
Thank you, Tia. Appreciate you having me. It's been so fun.
An extreme heat warning is in effect for Genesee, Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne counties until 8 p.m. Tuesday. That heat index values will exceed 100 degrees. Head on over to WDET.org/cool for a comprehensive list of cooling centers throughout Metro Detroit. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Stay cool out there.